All right, good morning everyone, and thank you all for coming out. Senator Kaine's here, and we're so glad to have you here. Warren County, and I'm sure Front Royal, when their representatives here, we're really excited about the Rails to Trails, and look forward to having that conversation with you to talk about funding and different things. And so we're grateful to have you here. I think you wanted to go around and
let's
introduce.
I thought we could do a quick round of introductions. I know you did a great job, Senator, talking with everybody, but just to do another round so you know who everybody is.
And I may need to put a name with an organization, a county, a NGO, to do it. Now, staff, don't stand in the back. You guys got to get in a circle. Come on up.
Everyone's
Get in the circle.
here.
Get in the
Everybody's
circle.
important here.
Okay.
So.
I can go ahead
All
and get...
politicians like a camel.
That's right.
So, Cheryl, you did introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Cheryl Cullors. I'm the Vice Chair and the South River District Representative on the Board of Supervisors for Warren County.
And are we standing in your district right now, Cheryl?
No, this is
The
North
North wasn't here. She was planning on being
Yes.
here.
Okay.
She couldn't make it this
this
morning.
would be North River.
Got it.
So
I'm Natasha Skelton. I'm with the Conservation Fund, and we're happy to be partnering with the project in conversations with North Southern as they progress.
I'm Jeff Kelby, landowner here, business prospectus, hopeful. So,
Allowing us to stand on his level.
yeah,
for
this is
having
great.
us.
I couldn't be happier.
Thank you, Jeff.
What's that?
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Well, couldn't be happier if the rail trail came to fruition here. So, it'd be great.
It's such a great project.
Wade Overstreet working with Jeff.
Tim Kaine, Senate.
I'm Brandon Davis. I'm the director of the regional commission that serves the northern Shenandoah Valley, and I'm the chair of the partnership, and kind of been around this project since the beginning in different roles. Started with Shenandoah County and economic development, trying to reactivate the rail line, and came up with a plan B here to pursue this rail trail with a pretty big team of people. So,
Jeff, is the entire stretch in your planning district?
all the way to Newmarket. So there's
Okay.
a small section to Broadway in Timberville, which is in the central Shenandoah district.
I got
We
you.
partner with them pretty regularly.
Great.
Ed Daly, Warren County, and we're excited about this project and how it can connect to some of our local trails here. And use the Avtex property that's been sitting vacant for 35 years, Senator.
Wow.
It needs to be reused.
Joe Petty, Warren County Economic Development and Tourism, Warren County resident, and personally and professionally excited about the rail trail as an active cyclist here in our community.
That's great.
Elizabeth Lewis, I'm the Community Development and Tourism Manager for the town of Front Royal and also a Front Royal resident. And while I don't bike, I do walk, so I'm excited about the trail.
Scott Jenkins. I'm the board chair for the Front Royal Warren County Economic Development Authority and proprietor of Mountain Home Bed and Breakfast, which you're very familiar with.
Stayed there twice.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely.
And we're really excited about the rail trail, not just because of the tourism opportunities, but because it begins to connect with other trails and avenues within our own community and with other surrounding communities. So we really see it as a connectional opportunity.
Dennis Smart from Shenandoah County. Welcome. We appreciate your support early on. Shenandoah County was one of the first localities to get on board. Okay.
Just got to keep you on track.
I'm doing my best. Shenandoah County, as other counties in the area, tourism is a really big deal. And so we think this is a real, opportunity to enhance tourism. We're so close to the metropolitan DC area, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but there's a lot of enthusiasm out here for this project. And again, Shenandoah County was one of the first ones to jump on because we felt it had potential. And so again, thank you for your ongoing support. Thanks for taking time to come out here for us this morning. That means a lot to us. It's an encouragement. So thank you.
Mike McCool with the Royal Examiner. We'd love to share these kind of stories with our readers and appreciate you all being here.
I'm Kate Wofford with Alliance for the Shenandoah Valley, and we're one of the 4 nonprofits that are working with the localities to get this done. And part of our mission is economic development that's compatible with our extraordinary natural resources, and it's hard to imagine a project that would bring more economic development that's great for our farmland and clean water.
I'm Janine. I'm Kaine's press secretary.
Gentry Aiken, Senator Kaine's executive assistant.
I'm Don Heinman. I'm a retired emergency room physician and started thinking about this project and working on it 7 years ago now, January 1st, 2016. It's really exciting for us to be making progress. And now it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but it's more forward than back. And we really appreciate you being here. Love the money that we got thanks to your help through the VDOT, it wasn't VDOT, it was through the Department of Transportation this past December. And we're going to come knocking on that raised door again this spring. So this project is, for me, it's a public health project because the number one problem in this valley is all related to inactivity, i.e. diabetes, obesity, hypertension. These things can be mitigated by getting kids to walk to school, people to walk to work or bike to see their neighbors in the next town. So we're real excited about this lovely place, and wait till you see this bridge.
I'm Rachel Ryback. I'm Senator Kaine's Northwestern Regional Director, so planning things like him getting out here, or if
you need the beautiful weather.
Yeah. Yep. Made a call. I made a call. Or if you need something when he's not out here, me to come to a meeting or to speak on the phone about some nitty-gritty part of this process, just let me know.
Rachel does a great job. The office is in Manassas, but she covers kind of the northwest part of Virginia and does a really good job. So thank you, Rachel.
We agree with that too. I'm Kim Woodwell. I work with Kate with the Alliance for the Shenandoah Valley as one of the nonprofit partners. And I was going to say, just to add on to what Kate talked about, how this is a great project that really shows off our wonderful natural resources, but it also is a really great way to revitalize our downtown. So really bring that economic development and fits with the character of our communities and agricultural community. We were going to have Brandon. We were going to ask you to do kind of a quick project update so the senator knows where things are.
Sure thing, we'll do. So it's still a vacant, unused corridor, as you can see, unfortunately. However, the Conservation Fund has been in conversation with Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern has confirmed that they are a willing seller. They would like to work with us. They would like to rail bank it. They would like to sell the corridor as one contiguous unit, not broken up. We believe that the Commonwealth of Virginia is probably the best holder of this, whether it's through VDOT, DCR, or in some long-term sustainable way, with a partnership among the localities, the Commonwealth, federal government through the RAISE program likely, and as well as the nonprofit organizations that have been working to build this project, and the new Friends of the Shenandoah Rail Trail, which we expect to play a large role both in the capital side of things as well as the ongoing construction and maintenance of the project. There is still support from the 9 towns and 3 counties along this 50-mile corridor, and that is very unique, as you well know. That's a long corridor with a lot of different cultural changes. Even though it's all the Shenandoah Valley, there are microcultures within that, and for everybody to agree largely on the outcome of something so emotional and meaningful to their communities is unique and very important, and I think it's something that we should recognize. So these folks know their communities well, and this is what they've said they want to do with that asset that's sitting vacant. So that means a lot to me. It carries a lot of weight. So that's why I continue to work on this project. The RAISE grant, well, first, thank you for the sponsoring the congressionally directed spending request, $3 million. We put together that application at the Regional Commission on behalf of VDOT, and those funds have now gone to VDOT. The Commonwealth, through the General Assembly last year, allocated $90+ million for trails, with the understanding that $30 to $35 million would be for this specific trail, though it wasn't explicitly written into the legislation. As you may know, the recent budget bill was finally passed, and one of the very few changes to language that occurred in that bill were itemizing the fact that $35 million was to be allocated for this trail, which is meaningful. There is some language in there that complicates matters, but we believe that rail banking satisfies those, and that's something that we can get into the nitty-gritty with your staff later on. But the RAISE grant, we
That's
feel...
the language about has to be compatible with the possibility of rail.
That's correct. Yeah. And we think there are a lot of ways to accomplish that.
Right.
The RAISE grant, we do believe, that's the $25 million through the federal government for largely for capital. We submitted an application last year which was scored well, but didn't make it to the final process. We did a debriefing last week with Andrea Jacobson from Department of Transportation, and she was exceptionally talented and a federal employee who was available and responsive and prepared, and it was very nice to have that experience with her. She walked us through the application piece by piece and told us how we could do better next year.
That's great.
So I'm excited for that, to get over that hump and hopefully have an infusion of federal funds that allows the Commonwealth to move forward on acquisition. It's a true partnership. So I think that pretty much summarizes where we are. If I've missed something, somebody tell me and we'll hit it.
We were going to go to Don next to talk about the new Friends of the Shenandoah Rail Trail nonprofit.
Great.
Yeah. The partnership, which formed in 2019 with 9 mayors and town managers and representatives from 3 different counties, actually it was 2 to begin with. But anyway, because of their political positions, they didn't want to be handling money. So we said, okay, fine, we'll form a separate unit. So we now have the Friends of the Shenandoah Trail. It's stood up. It's actually we've collected some money, not big money, but just shy of $70,000. And with that, we've been able to make the operations of our little group sophisticated. So we are ready for a large capital campaign. And by large, I mean multi-millions. And we don't have a target yet, but I have a target in mind. And so I think as soon as we get a letter of intent from the Commonwealth Transportation Board, then we'll be able to launch a capital campaign to support not only the acquisition, but the development and maintenance of this. And we see the Friends as being the long-term organization. The partnership will be needing this partnership, which is so unique. You know, the mayor in Strasburg was meeting the mayor in Broadway for the first time. I mean, you know, and so these are really fabulous. The Friends group, the board of the Friends group, is represented from all 3 counties and all 9 towns. So we're excited to move forward, and it's behind the scenes work, but it's going to be quite necessary to get this puppy done.
This may be coming up, but you mentioned that there are 4 kind of nonprofit partners. So Friends, Alliance
for the Shenandoah Valley,
Conservancy,
the Conservation Fund.
Conservation Fund.
And there's a group out of Harrisonburg called the Shenandoah Valley Bicycle Coalition.
Okay.
And they're fantastic.
Okay, great.
And the Friends of the Shenandoah River. What's it called? The Friends of the North Fork.
Friends of the North Fork. Yeah.
Okay.
One of our water group. Yep.
Great.
So.
Yeah, and so I know we've touched on Senator a little bit of sort of like we're so excited about the great support from our localities, and like we've said, that the idea that 3 counties and 9 towns could agree on any one thing that runs through all their. One of the things we've been doing.
And I'm very familiar with the politics around trails, you know. So when the Capital to Capital Trail, I worked on that as mayor, then again as lieutenant governor, then as governor. And Charles City was a holdout for a long time. But then Charles City embraced it. Now Charles City's so happy with it. I mean, they're so happy with it. And, you know, the more there are, you look at High Bridge, you look at Capital to Capital, you look at Creeper, New River, you look at this proposed Fall Line Trail from Ashland and Petersburg, the trail that's going on the eastern shore. The more there are, the more the places there are for, you know, local communities to go look at. Okay, well, here's how it is. Wow, wouldn't we want to get on board? So I've seen the challenges, you know, of getting everybody on board. But these things really kind of sell themselves once they're up and running, and you can kind of go see it and see what it does for the Farmvilles of the world or for the Charles City courthouses of the world. It really sells it. And you know, I've cycled most of them. I love this part of the world because of, you know, Chris, the AT, where you guys are, and cycling on the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Skyline Drive. I mean, some of the connected trails I may not know, but I mean, I've canoed on the Shenandoah, I've camped at Andy Guest, I've cycled on the Skyline Drive, I've hiked the AT. All of these around here are exciting. And so when I came to Broadway that first time and heard about it, it was like, wow, I think this would work like a charm, and it's exciting to see how it's moved since I was with you. So
one of the real bit of work that the Alliance has really been bringing to this project is working on furthering the community engagement and really talking to the folks in our communities to let them know about a rail trail. Many of them have never visited a rail trail. So in an attempt to reach out to people, we held, starting at the first of the year, we held a series of 10 community meetings in our towns and one virtual. We had over 700 people participating in these meetings. These were a great opportunity for us to, we worked in collaboration with VDOT with their work that they're doing on the preliminary design work, to get input from the community members, to let them know how they can get engaged, to hear concerns, hear trail prep. You know, we were asking them how would they like a gravel trail or paved trail. You know, what kind of bridge crossings, and so all that information we collected will be able to go on and help be VDOT in their preliminary designs that they're working on as this project moves forward. In addition to these community meetings, we also have done an effort to we have an ongoing effort to reach out to some of our non-English speaking communities. Most recently, we took a Spanish translator into one of our poultry processing facilities in Timberville. Met in the break room with employees. Wow. Many of them had, of course, not heard about the project. So it was a really great opportunity for us to talk with them about the project, let them know how they can get more information. And as I think we mentioned to you in the past, down in Timberville, there's actually an employee housing located along the rail corridor. Yeah, and right now, those employees, that's not how, many of them don't have cars, and so they have to walk out onto 42 and down on Route 11, pretty major transportation corridors without sidewalks, and so they're walking on the edges of the road. This would be like a 4-minute shot right into work. Wow. And what a pretty way to get to work for these folks. And so, and those are the kinds of connections that this trail will create, not only in Timberville, but in, you know, all up and down the corridor. So we're excited, and we'll continue. It's going to be really important as we maintain our locality support, is to build this broad base of community support and get more people engaged. So we'll continue to work hard on that.
That's great. That's great.
A bunch of us have mentioned the economic development potential, and I think we can spend another couple minutes on that with Joe Petty and Jeff and others who are looking at the economic development.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people have already touched on the highlights, both from a community and economic development standpoint. I think Jeff and Scott can also attest to that, of what this could bring to their businesses here locally. You know, I grew up here, worked in Crystal City for the Business Improvement District there, and also saw how the Mount Vernon and W&OD Trail and how this type of infrastructure can really build a community and how you can build economic development around that. We see that here, especially being at the northern terminus in Front Royal, our location next to Northern Virginia. People want to gravitate towards this trailhead and continue on to Stroudsburg and Woodstock and beyond, and vice versa from Broadway and up. And I think it's been touched on too, the transportation aspects. This trailhead within 2 miles covers 400 homes here in our community that will then be able to have transportation alternatives to come into our community, to visit our businesses, to go to work. And when we expand our multimodal assets to our commercial corridor just north, they'll be able to go grocery shopping and other destinations or downtown. You know, I personally experienced, like Leesburg, for instance, was just there with my family. We visited, my wife wanted to try an e-bike, and so we rented one right next to the trail, took the kids to the playground, came back, went to lunch downtown, grabbed coffee, and that's what we see happening here. Businesses seeing this as this asset that they can build off of. You know, we don't have a bike shop. We have some outdoor shops, but you know, people will become more active. And to Don's point, we see this as people making behavioral changes for their health, making better decisions about what they eat and what they do because they're becoming more active in their community. And all these things, economic development, community development, are just such a great benefit for us and the entire region. We know the numbers from the economic impact study, the 30+ million in annual spending, the 300+ jobs. I could see it, going beyond that. I think you mentioned, once it's here and people realize it's so beneficial to go to some of these other trails and 50 miles. There's not a whole lot of trails that actually do that. And so
Capitol's 55, and I think New River might be about 50. But
WNOD
and WNOD.
And I think I was driving to Harrisonburg the other day, and I'm driving on 81. I passed the sign for Broadway, and I look at the time I'd been on the road, and I was like, wow, the trail will go that far. And it is just amazing. And I think that's, as we go to this bridge and you see all the other bridges, how iconic this trail becomes. As you cross into Strasburg and you look over and you see that railroad bridge at the base of Signal Knob, I mean, people will want to be at that point.
Right.
And that will draw people here, and it's just so exciting.
Can I just do to Scott an economic development question? So for just on your business, so when I have been there have been people staying who were here because they were visiting family in town and it was a good place to stay. But most of the people I met were people who were there because of outdoor. They were hiking the AT. Right. They brought their bikes up because they were going to cycle on the Skyline Drive. What percentage of your guests, your and Lisa's guests at Mountain Home, what percentage are here because of the outdoors? It's leaf season, or I want to ride my bike, or want to go hiking.
2/3.
Yeah.
About 2/3. And about half of those are hikers now. And a very, very, very small number are brave bicyclists. Very small. We'd like to expand that. But it's well over half. So I'd say 2/3 of our guests are here because of the outdoors and everything that we have to offer here. I wanted to add on to what Ed touched on and Joe mentioned about the Avtex property that's been vacant for so long. We're working right now with EPA, and Joe's been spearheading this, to get a trail established along the river there that will connect from East Ham Park and the town's Greenway, which is a 4-mile loop trail, to get through the Avtex property as a walking and biking trail, to then be able to connect up with other streets to eventually get up to here and connect in with this rail trail. So it gives another avenue for people to get from Broadway all the way into downtown Front Royal, and it gives the local population a way to get to school without having to come all the way around the Avtex property. It gives them, the kids, a way to walk or bicycle to school. And so we see complementary opportunities all over the place. And I'm sure that the other towns and counties see the same thing, that as this corridor gets established, there's a number of other projects that will spawn off of it and feed into it and build upon it. That's what gets us so excited.
Tell a little bit about what you're considering for this place?
Sure. Be happy
As
to.
a small business owner, so here's an example of a business.
Well, you all know I'm here accidentally.
Right.
I'm a river person, and I
Right.
started my first guide service in the 1990s.
Isn't
on the
that how we
Shenandoah.
first met?
Well,
You were
met
river
you
keeper?
You came to my house.
Yeah.
When I started Shenandoah River Keeper, we had the fish kills. And
Right, and we
exactly.
were trying to figure that out.
You held
Yeah.
my babies, and you helped us with I think they called it a caboose amendment to the bill to fund the research that we did on the fish health
Fish
issues
kills,
that we were
right.
experiencing in the river. And so you've been here since the beginning of my career. But I accidentally, I've known the VFW 1860 chapter members for a very long time, holding events here, river events, including some pretty wild ones in wild weather, but always successful. And I fell in love with this property almost 20 years ago, and thought about acquiring it for my river business as I got out of the river business when we had the fish health issues. Ran a conservation organization for 14 years, and then came back to the river community and I started Ashby Avid Ventures and was a part owner of a business in Harper's Ferry, which I'm divested from. But this became available, and I purchased it, and then it was the day after I purchased it that I got an email from Kim. She said, "Oh no, the VFW property sold." She said, "Does anybody know who bought it?
Oh,
We've got all these potential plans down there." And I said, I know who it is. You might know him. He's hard to work with, but you're in luck. And so, when I learned of the plans that were going on down here, I felt really stupid because I had not heard a word of it, even though we'd worked together. I've worked together with so many people that are here over the years in conservation, and was really kind of opened up my eyes to what the potential was for the property. I was thinking about it just as a river property because in 30 years, I've never seen a property that's near a major corridor, that's on the banks of the river. We're at the confluence of the North Fork and the South Fork and the main stem here, which I've been running businesses on forever. It's got a bathhouse, it's got public water and sewer, it's in a town. I've never felt the reception that I got from the town and the community when I put a special use permit in. I could tell the people are excited. It made me excited. And I was thinking of it just from the potential of a river business. It has everything you want for a river business. And then to add the potential for the trail just expands the potential for the community. And I've got a paintball company that wants to operate paintball events here on the weekends. I've got my ex-business partner wants to build a brewery here. Whit, who used to work with at Riverkeeper. He just bought a house down the way. He's going to commute by boat up here, and he's going to help me open this business and hopefully become the owner of this business before long, and I'll just be a landlord. And so this has been part of the community. The history of this, there was a mill here, the river crossing went to Winchester, there's been battles here. I mean, this has always been part of this community, and you can tell this morning I came and there were 5 guys fly fishing the river, and they came out, when we got here, and they thought, oh, should I be here? And I've left this open. I mow the lawn. Here I have a local company mow the lawn so that the little league football team can still practice here.
I see it over
and I just want to have a light touch. I want it to remain a part of the community. The VFW is welcome here forever, for as long as their chapter exists. And they will economically benefit from any business that operates here. We contractually agree to pay them a percentage of any revenue of any business that operates on here to support the VFW because they lost their headquarters to an arsonist event. And it was very sad. They were hopeful to rebuild, and they are unable to rebuild. They've got some ideas about where to relocate, but and they were unable to come this morning. Unfortunately, we welcomed them to come. So the story for the future is unwritten. The past is long and sordid, and hopefully this is a place that all these ideas become successful, and it becomes a big part of this community.
That's exciting. Thank you, Jeff. You've had a lot of different chapters all connecting.
I know. My career's a
to
mess.
The river, and, but they all there's a through line. There's a through line.
And fortunately, Jeff has a really friendly neighbor.
The Andreas.
Yeah.
Fred and Christine Andrea.
The folks right across the way.
They started Scenic 340.
The property right
there.
there.
Oh, okay.
It's like a mirror of this, but it goes even further and around the corner on the river, and they're hoping to have that become an asset to support what happens with the trail, the railroad trail, maybe become a park owned by the town or the city. And I don't want to speak out of terms. I haven't talked to them lately about their plans, but they hope to have parking to support the railroad trail and potentially trails on that property, and it would be amazing if this whole lower corridor here, which is really kind of isolated by the railroad, it's sandwiched between the railroad and the river, became part of the public asset. It'd be great.
What's the timing on the raised grant?
Sir?
What's the timing on the raised grant?
Yesterday. This fall will be applied.
Yeah. So you'll let us know so we can put in
You bet.
put Elda Downey, who runs my Roanoke office. She's kind of also my grant person, and so she and Rachel will work together to get us as Gwen is Elda's the new Gwen. But we want to make sure that we really are weighing in a major way.
High heels to fill.
I know it is not easy. It is not easy. Gwen moved on to do something great. She's the comms director for the George Washington National Forest, so she's continuing to do good work. Tomorrow I'm going to try to hike up the Fire Tower Trail over on Shenandoah Mountain. That's another thing I'm working on now is the Shenandoah Mountain wilderness area. And I'm going to try to if the weather isn't too bad. But I'm sure Gwen will, if I'm up there, she'll hear within about 5 minutes and know that I'm there. Well, this is exciting.
You want to walk down and see one of the bridges?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it.
This line right behind us, train might go by. Trains go by all the time. The line right behind us is the active Norfolk Southern Crescent Corridor on its way to the inland port.
Okay.
We love that rail line. It gets trucks off 81. It's a great way to move freight. We're pro-rail on that Crescent Corridor line. The line that's been discontinued and is going to become the Shenandoah Rail Trail someday, The junction is right here, so we can walk down if you've got time and look at the bridge that will be the north end of this trail. Yep.
And we are 1 hour away from 6 million people.
Yeah.
Okay. So this will be a tourist magnet. Even though I love the view from here, and yes, I've been on it, and no, I don't recommend people go on it. It's against the law. It's dangerous. But this is going to be a tourist magnet, and it does have wonderful views from here. There's even better views from other bridges along the trail.
When was the last train that came over this bridge?
June of 2020.
Okay.
This was the last section to be discontinued.
This last 10 miles.
From here to Strasburg.
Okay.
Yep.
I got you.
And it was in July of 2020 that Norfolk Southern said, okay.
All right, now we're ready.
It is now potentially for sale if you buy the whole thing and, all at one time, not in pieces, and a couple other stipulations. They didn't want to be dealing with, individual towns. They wanted, somebody of means to.
Are we still upstream from the confluence?
It's right there, Senator.
It's
literally right there.
It's
just.
yeah.
Down there. Even before the next bridge.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. I see it. So that's the point right here. Wow. I broke a paddle once in the Bull Falls section.
Did you?
Down near Harper's Ferry.
Gotcha.
There was too many rocks, and I was like going too hard, and I did that, and then I looked up, and half my paddle went.
Good place to break.
I'm not that good. I'm not that good in the boat.
So this is what's also interesting about this location is the Warren Dam. It's a small, power generating dam below here, backs the water up to about right here. So this is the terminus of flowing water into the reservoir of the dam, and it flows a little bit, but not very much, which kind of opens up a put in and take out opportunity for voters, and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great.
So
I'm going to come this way. Right.
Around.
I was saying, I don't think you were hearing that the $3 million that we got through the congressionally directed expenditure, this is something that just started up again. So it used to be earmarks. They had been eliminated long before I came to the Senate, because what was happening is the people on the Appropriations Committee were just putting in their own pet projects. Nobody knew what they were. We'd vote on them, then you'd find out, oh wow, somebody got this or that. So when they decided to restore it, this process, they did it in a way to eliminate some of the bad aspects of the past. So here's the way it works. You guys apply to Senator Warner and me, or a member of Congress. We look at it, we decide what we're going to recommend to the Appropriations Committee. Any request that we make, I have to post on my website so that every journalist, mayor, anybody can look on it and say, what's Kaine asking for? Is that a good group or not? Or is he just asking for stuff in Richmond where he lives, or is he trying to represent the whole state? So the transparency aspect of it really fixes some of the problems. But neither Warner nor I are on appropriations. So then we have to go to the appropriators and say, okay, here's our submitted list. And we never get 100% right of what you ask for. Nobody does. But we have noticed, this is the third year we've done it, we notice some patterns like, these are the projects that are more likely to be successful. These are the ones that are less likely to be successful. Workforce programs now with the unemployment rate so low, those are very popular with the appropriators. But anything regional is appropriate, is really popular.
We fit that bill.
Yeah, you sure do. So you were saying it's
Hands
hard to
down.
get everybody on board. If it's just for, Fairfax County, it's less likely to be successful. If it's 3 counties and 9 towns, or on the Eastern Shore, you got the 2 counties. If it's regional, it's more likely to be successful. And then your point, if it serves multiple purposes, if it's an economic development project that's good for health, that's good for public safety.
Travel.
Yeah, the appropriators look at those and say, okay. The other thing that we sometimes notice too is it's hard to get funding 2 years in a row on a project. So if we advocated for something this year and we're successful, we pretty much know we're not going to get round 2 next year, but we might get round 2 in 2 years. That's
if they don't cut it,
right?
That's a plus.
Yeah,
and if they keep it in the budget,
yeah. Well, we will cross our fingers. But the raised grants separately, that's more competitive, and I'm glad that Brandon said, and not surprised, but I'm glad that you said that you had a good meeting and they kind of walked through like, okay, this is a good project. It scored really high. Competition is tough when you're applying for it. next time, here are ways to kind of boost it a little bit. That's good.
And Brandon is the executive director of the Northern Shenandoah Valley Regional Commission.
Yeah.
And like I say, so that is in the regional commission is very supportive of this thing. So like I say, it's not just, it's a joint effort in the valley.
Well, that helps on raised grant too. That's not just
that's the point I'm trying to make. And put that plug in. Brandon, yeah. He wears two hats.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah, more than two probably.
So much.
He's very modest. I'm his chairman, so I can say it.
You can tell.
But he is a real deal. He's a real deal. He works hard. He works hard.
Well, thank you all for taking the time. It's interesting. I had been in Broadway and I knew about the project and, put in the plug for the CDS. But it's different. This is, this extra 10 miles up here and seeing the north end of it, seeing what you have planned. It's so great. Even if my staff had given me a briefing and a memo or something, it's not the same as coming out and talking to you all and seeing it. And, I guess, again, listening to Scott, your point about the connection with all the others. I hadn't thought about that so much, but I see what you're talking about and why.
When the AT was first envisioned, it was envisioned as a walking trail to connect communities.
Yeah.
Up and down the Appalachian Mountains. And this is largely just an extension of that concept of connecting.
The first time I stayed at his place, I was gonna stay at one of the shelters I was hiking north to south, and I was going to stay at one of the shelters a couple miles north of him, but I just was making a lot of progress that day, and it's like, I'm really not ready to stop. So I get down to where it's crossing 522, right?
Right.
And I look just left, and it's like, wow, there's a place, and it's, for hikers, like, you know what, I don't have to sleep on the ground tonight. I'm really happy about that. And so that was really fun.
And you stayed in Annie's room.
Yeah.
It's anything to keep your support.
Right. Yeah. I tell you. Yeah, that was really fun.
Hey, give him an extra pillow next time, will you?
The next year I came back and we just parked vehicles there because we were cycling the whole Blue Ridge Parkway and Skyline Drive from Virginia, North Carolina to Front Royal. So we all met at Mountain Home, left our cars there, got a van to take us all the way down to Galax, hopped on the next morning and then rode all the way north. Took us 8 days to get back. Yep. But that was really fun too. Yeah.
That first time I passed you on the road and I shouldn't do this, but I called Lisa while I was driving and said, there's a hiker coming in. I just gave her a heads up.
Yeah.
And then I was about to pull on to 66. I needed to go into Gainesville to do some resupply of our own. And she called me just as I was about to get on the interstate. She said, you know that hiker that was coming in? That was Tim Kaine. So I pulled a U-turn to come back. I got off that on-ramp and back around.
That was funny. Well, listen, thank you guys.
Senator, we have one more person that just showed up.
Oh, good.
Oh, God, love you.
I don't know if they told you I'm a teacher by day.
Oh, right. So
I just do this in the evening.
Oh,
so
good to see you.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah,
so.
I love mayors.
Oh, well, thank you.
I love being a mayor and I love mayors. So.
Yes, that's great. I'm so glad you could come too. I'm sure they've already told you all the.
Yeah, it's really
Front
exciting.
Royal was actually kind of late to this. We were the last town that was brought on, but this is like a little slice of heaven to us.
Yeah.
And we're so close to the Appalachian Trail, so this is a perfect fit for us.
No kidding.
Certainly hope that we can do everything we can to make this happen, right?
Well,
for
we're
all of
gonna
us.
keep battling at the federal level, and if I
Yes.
can be helpful on the state issue of releasing the 25, I want to help on that too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
great.
It's 30.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it's 30.
Oh, the 25 is the raised grant, and 35 is. So I'm just curious, since I'm working on the other trails too. So they allocated 35 for this one. And then remember what they allocated was, I guess it's probably Eastern Shore.
Eastern Shore has 4.
Yeah.
And but they've torn up the rails.
Right.
I rode on that earlier this
Yeah.
summer. On it's not done.
Yeah.
But they have 4. 2 trails got 1 1/4. And 1 trail, what's it called? The Peaks to Creek.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the name, but I don't know where it is.
12.5. I think that's Bodacourt?
Botetourt. It looks like Bodacourt.
It does.
But you pronounce it Botetourt.
That's where Nancy lives.
So, okay,
Okay,
my English teacher would be proud.
No, he's right. It really does look like that.
Yeah.
My
It's
daughter
exactly
lives
like you
there,
said.
and I said it wrong many times.
But yeah,
and people correct
Gary
me.
LaRoe is the county administrator there, and he's like super outdoors guy. So if there's anything for a trail or the Upper James River Trail, that's mostly in Botetourt. So he's really focused on that. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a beautiful trail. They got 12 and a half.
Buchanan.
And,
But that's
so-
great. So 35 for this. That's great.
Yep.
So,
Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
We
yes,
want to be
yes.
helpful.
Yes.
And so Brandon was telling us about the timing on doing the raise grant application and how we can weigh in and be supportive when we want to be.
Yes.
I rode on what I refer to as your trail, the Capitol Trail, the other day, and I got to tell you, one, it was busy. I mean, it's busy. There are lots and lots of people that are commuting.
Yes.
I mean, I was a recreational user, but there are lots and lots of people. Two, it's gorgeous.
It's the one that isn't a rail to trail. It's
Oh, yeah.
built dedicated, and it is off road, so you're not having a fight with traffic.
Yeah.
It's just parallels.
And there's a
Route
lot of
5.
traffic on 5.
Yeah.
So it has done its job in terms of getting people off the road and safely exercising and getting to and from work.
The Charles City, as I said, they were kind of the holdout. They really were not sure they wanted it, but
I didn't know that.
there's a woman named Nanny Ridgely who runs a place called North Bend Plantation. It's a really old plantation home, and she's in her 80s, and she's maybe a mile off the trail, and she was like, I think this will be good. And then the Chickahominy tribe, the chief Steve Adkins, the tribe is in Charles City, and so the tribe and Nanny were like, we think this is good. And they really were. It took them a while, but they brought everybody around, and now everybody's so excited. And if you go, there's like one restaurant. Charles City Courthouse is really tiny. There's this little restaurant called the Courthouse Grill that used to be a general store. The floors are uneven. You could put a marble down, it would roll here, there, and everywhere. But that place, if you go in, it's such an interesting mixture of local folks and then folks who come down the trail. And they have music on the weekends, and it's this great gathering spot for everybody in the county and everybody who uses the trail. And now Charles City is like, everybody claimed it was their idea now, even though they were the holdout. So it just, worked out. It's working out great. So. All right, well,
to his point, running parallel in the Sherrills, this runs parallel to Route 11 and 55, and Route 55 connecting us to Strasburg is a major thoroughfare, one of the oldest roads. And it's the only road that connects us, between the two. And so to get those people off of that road on a safe place to connect, it's going to be huge. It's only 9 miles.
Is 55 the one where if you want to go in up Passage Creek into
Correct.
Fort Valley, that's
kind of sandwiched between the river and the Massed Up Mountains right there at Signal Knob.
Right.
And you'll cross the Shenandoah to get into Strasburg, but you can make the left go into Fort Valley down to the net. And it's just such a beautiful corridor. A lot of homes through there, so you can envision some little trailhead points along the way where people just jump on.
And you go from God's country, from Warren County to God's country, Shenandoah County.
Right. Yeah.
On that road. Don't forget that.
Get
Don't
that
forget
in.
that.
Yeah. All right. We'll come to Shenandoah next time. All right, you guys. Well, this is great. Thank you. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll look forward to, just following up, especially on the race grant.
So, in asking what it's going to do to our county, I think our support from the federal and the state level is going to be huge in implementing this project. We see this as building businesses here, and expanding existing businesses is going to be huge. We are a trail town. Appalachian Trail, the Tuscarora Trail, the Shenandoah River as a waterway trail. This just adds to that, and our businesses have built on it. So we definitely encourage our local and state and federal leaders to continue to that support. We've appreciated it up to this point, but continue to push this forward to get these businesses going.
You say it well when you talk about local, state, federal. These things are partnerships, including all the nonprofits. There's no one group that can just kind of do it on their own. So to have the 3 counties and 9 towns, to have the railroad now ready to sell and transfer, you've been able to effectively get state support. We've gotten federal support. There's a federal grant opportunity coming up that we want to weigh in and help on. But it's really exciting, and the success of other rail trails like this around Virginia really shows that the economic impact, the health impact, the safety impact can all be so positive.
Well, Senator, you're an outdoorsman. I'm here you talking
Yes.
about hiking all these things. So this would just be one more notch in your belt. You have to come to Front Royal and hike all the 50-mile trail.
Right. I would look forward to it. I mean, Front Royal, I've canoed the Shenandoah here, stayed at the state park. I've cycled the whole Skyline Drive. The trip ended in Front Royal. And the ability to have, and I've hiked the AT through Front Royal. You really are a trail town. So I know canoe capital of Virginia, but trails of all kinds. And this is just one more. The way that this cuts over along Route 55 to Strasburg and then south to Broadway. I came to the Broadway end of the trail a couple of years ago. That was before the Norfolk Southern was willing to sell. It was before we had any federal money, but to see the vision of it, and it's nice to see the progress that's been made.
I was kind of surprised that the railroad even wanted to sell. I mean, is that kind of like unheard of?
Well, it's interesting. Usually the railroads, they understand if a line is not going to be that busy, but then they wait for a while because they want to make sure that something doesn't change. And I know, look, the county had spent time trying to figure out, could the rail line get revitalized? But when they finally say, we're ready to sell, it's usually they've crunched the numbers and recrunched them and just decide, look, this can be better used if you rail bank it or use it for a trail. Sure. And you look at what's happening all around Virginia. I mean, there's so many of these that are working so well and that produce just the same kind of economic development opportunities for Warren or Front Royal are being produced in Farmville, being produced in Charles City County, Damascus to White Top on the Creeper Trail. This is going to be every bit as successful, and frankly, this will be more successful because it's so close to 6 million people.
Right.
This one will get visitation that will really help local businesses.
Right. I always say that big sign hanging at 495 that says Front Royal.
Yeah,
I think that's one of our best advertisings we have. So let's not change that.
There you go. Yeah, we're not going to change it to something else. And then my favorite Front Royal thing is still Bing Crosby Stadium and the Wooden Bat College League. But you just got a lot of assets, and there's a lot. This will, and as people point out, it's not just the Front Royal assets. This also connects to all these other towns that have their own, unique sets of assets.
I think that's one of the biggest things is just how this really supports our entire region, which is just so great in the Shenandoah Valley. Yep. It's not just a Warren County thing, the Shenandoah, Rockingham. I mean, we are very excited to be part of this project, this partnership.
It's a great work. Appreciate you getting on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, get on board, and then somebody has said, well, keep it on track.
There you go. That's
all
good.
right.
Thanks again, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks, Joe.
Thanks. You bet.